Good evening, brothers. Today we will be talking about judgment, according to Matthew chapter 7 from verses 1 to 5. Now, I have a question for everyone in this room. Who from here has never judged someone? No one, right? Here's a little story. There was this kid who had a brother or cousin, and he saw his cousin grab a chocolate bar without permission, and he went and told him, "What you're doing is wrong. Don't do it." That is a small but a way of judging someone. Now we'll go to that story back later. From now, let's read Matthew chapter 7 from verses 1 through 5. It says, "Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you use, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove the speck from your eye,' and look, a plank is on your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." In these 5 passages, we see a parable type story that tells us a man who wants to remove the speck from his brother's eye. To that point, everything's good. It's something that we can all do and will be good for the other one that has a speck in his eye. The problem, though, is on verse 3 and 4, where we find, and it says, "And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye?" And here, we notice that the man that wants to remove a speck from his brother's eye has a whole plank in his eyes. Now that is hypocrisy. Now continuing the story I was telling before, you see your cousin or brother getting a chocolate bar without permission, and you tell him that's not right. The problem is you have 5 chocolate bars in your back pocket. Now that is hypocrisy. That's a common way that we might have not even know that was hypocrisy, but it is. Now, the man in here acts like a hypocrite. This is something that God doesn't like. And for this reason, Jesus tells us the way to act in a correct way when judging someone. Here it says, "Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." The man here acts like a hypocrite, but Jesus gives the way so we don't act like one. The most probable thing is that in these 5 passages, Jesus was talking directly to the Pharisees and scribes who were there present. For these were some of the most immoral people, but that said to be the most moral persons in the whole world. A lot of times they judge people for sins that they themselves were committing, which made them hypocrites. In Leviticus chapter 19 verse 15 it says, "You shall not injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor, nor honor the person of mighty. In righteousness you shall judge your neighbor." The Bible tells us to judge how we want to be judged. If we want to be treated and judged kindly, we should at least do the same for others. Colossians chapter 3 from verses 12 to 13 says, "Therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave you, so you also must do." The consequence of judging and treating others harshly is very well explicit in the 2nd verse of Matthew chapter 7, which says, "For with the judgment you judge, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you." By this, we can easily understand and receive the message that according to how we act, we treat others, we so will be equally treated. Now, we have already heard how to judge, but when do we judge? We ourselves can learn that If we're struggling with a problem, and there's another person that is struggling with the same problem, we shouldn't reprimand him or judge him, because that will make us hypocrites. But if we ourselves have passed over a problem and we have successfully eradicated that problem, we can help our brother, as our duty as Christians, to get out of that problem and help him being a better person. Another type of judgment can be self-judgment. When one judges itself, we can see our problems and we can see the ways we can be better, so that way we can be as likely as possible to Christ. In Ephesians chapter 4, verses 21 to 24, it says, "If indeed you have heard him, having thought by him as the truth in Jesus, that you put off concerning your former conduct the old man which grows corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man which was created according to God, in true righteousness and holiness." This lesson, we have learned the correct and the wrong way to judge. We have also seen when and when not to judge. At the same time, we saw some types of judgment that are and exist. And now we know that judging in a correct way won't do anything else that get us closer to God. But the same thing happens if we don't do the same. If we don't judge in a correct way, we will be waked to the presence of God. And the book of Psalms, chapter 7, verse 22 says, "God is a just judge, and God is angry with the wicked every day." Because of this, brothers, I ask and challenge you to judge in the way God wants us to, that the God will judge us in the same way we judged others. Thank you.